Welcome everybody to the Boku no Hero Academia rankings of the worst to best heroes from Class A1. Wow, that's a long title. My name is Misty Galaxia, and after watching all the episodes available and reading over 150 chapters of the manga, I decided I wanted to do a ranking of all the heroes in Class 1A, from the worst hero to the best one. Now, I'm well aware within the story there is a lot of character development, so for the sake of this list, I'm putting aside the fact that some characters are meant as comedy relief, and I will consider everyone's ability to their fullest potential. For example, Deku, I will be talking about the fully mastered one for all, as opposed to the starting version with a kickback and poor handling. And finally, this list doesn't mean a worst hero couldn't beat a better hero under the right circumstance. For example, Froppy would have the upper hand against anyone underwater, but that doesn't make her the best hero since most situation happens on land. Keep in mind, this remains my opinion and you can do your own ranking, but for this list I'm going to rank each hero's quirk on several factors. Those include the resourcefulness, utility, restriction, and combat potential. I'm also leaving the teachers out, we're just counting 20 students. Let's go! And standing at the bottom of the list, we have the worst hero of the class, Aoyama, with his naval laser. These quirks allow him to shoot a beam out of his stomach. Alright, I'm sorry if there's some people who like Aoyama, but he is without a doubt the worst hero of the class. First of all, the strength of the laser is very mild. It took down a robot's arm, but that's about it. Secondly, the move has a lot of restrictions. If used too much, it makes the user collapse from stomachache, but let's say he trains and loses this drawback of his skill and improvised beam strength to Piccolo's special beam cannon level that still only make purpose for destruction and fighting. Rescue mission wouldn't make him useless in a lot of scenarios. You could use his beam to blind people and make a getaway, but that's not quite the essence of a hero now, is it? His moves are also heavily telegraphed and all of his stats are lukewarm at best. No physical strength, no intelligence feat, bad at teamwork, and pretty slow overall makes Aoyama the worst hero of Class 1A. But not far behind at number 19 is Sato with his Sugar Rush, one of the heroes we hardly ever see. Sato's ability allows him to increase his strength fivefold when he eats 10 grams of sugar for 3 minutes, but it gets him progressively dumber. This is a huge setback since in battle, you'll want your full awareness. Added to that, fivefold isn't quite a tremendous boost when nearly everyone else also benefits from strength enhancement. And finally, 3 minutes goes by in a flash in Crisis. His speed and intelligence are below average. Just the fact he has to carry around a can of sugar makes it a hindrance compared to any user who can tap into their quirks without that setback. I like his concept, but sadly Sato should stick to baking. Number 18, Shoji with his Dupli arms. These quirks allow him to duplicate his body parts. I'm guessing this is another one a lot of people won't agree with, but despite having decent all-around stats, there is very little usefulness to his quirk. FYI, the official character book says he's stronger than Sato. Any range enemy would have the advantage over him. He's super strong? That hardly ever factor when all the villains are either super fast or super strong too. If he could fly with his arms, that'd be a perk, but I'm not sure if we can ever consider that an option. Unless he gets a big reveal down the road, I doubt he can ever shine much. Number 17, Ojiro and his tail. This quirk is pretty self-explanatory, it gives him a strong tail. Another strength user. Honestly, he's about the same as Shoji, but I'm putting him above for two reasons. Number one, his tails allow him a great mobility on the three-dimensional plan, and the second reason is because he knows about hand-to-hand combat. That goes a mile and a half beyond just being super strong. Beside that, they both fare about the same, but Ojiro seems to be someone who can see the bigger picture, which leads me to believe he'd be calm in a crisis. That's also valuable in its own right. Number 16, Koda and his animal voice. This quirk allows him to speak and command animals. Yes, the Aquaman of My Hero Academia. Koda gives me a pretty hard time when it came to class him. His quirk can be extremely potent, but it has so much requirements. First off, his ability allows him to control animals, but those animals have to be in earshot range. He can't summon or spawn them, he just ordered them around. Now, unless he gets a pet tiger to tag along like Kiba and Akamaru in Naruto or a captain of bugs like Shino, he's never gonna be a threat. His stats are all above mediocre, but I don't think anyone would want to fight him off in a zoo. Good ability, but the skill checks are too taxing. Getting a bunch of rabbits together would hardly threaten anyone. Number 15, Jito and her earphone jack. This quirks allow her to plug her earlobes into any surface to listen or produce sounds. Jito is a bit of an oddball when it comes to her ability. She's great at two things: intel gathering by listening through walls, and straight up raw destruction by emptying her heartbeat to shatter the ground around her. But unfortunately, anything that doesn't revolve around sound makes her completely irrelevant. She can't rescue people from burning building or from drowning. She'd lose against any ranged user. And also, anyone else wonders how she sleeps at night so she doesn't roll around and end up laying on her earlobe? That makes me cringe so much. Number 14, Mineta Popoff. This quirk allows him to throw his hair that stick to anything. I bet you expected him dead last, but not at all. I can see many actual uses for him if he actually grew some balls. Yes, pun intended. First off, his size allows him to sneak around easily in vents, rubble, or tiny spaces. His power and speed are both negligible, but he's shown on many occasions to be quite resourceful and clever. Assuming he can overcome the bleeding when he uses his quirk, at some point, you can see it having a lot of purposes, from immobilizing villains to rescue victims, prevent Boulder from falling, etc. However, his poor stats and the potential of various counters such as any type of range enemies still leave him at number 14. Number 13, Seto and Tape. This quirks allow him to shoot tape out of his elbows. Seto is an interesting character, a slightly better and improved version of Mineta. He already have solid confidence in his ability, and he benefits from the same duct tape perks Mineta has, albeit slightly less sticky. What gives him the upper hand though is his maneuverability. Being able to Spider-Man across any tricky terrain is great for speedy rescue. I wouldn't see him fight off strong enemies, but he could definitely buy a lot of time for reinforcement to arrive by creating sticky webs of tapes and running around. Hey, that's a viable strat too, don't hate on it. Number 12, Kaminari, Electrification. This quirks make electricity, I mean it's in the title. Kaminari is one of my favorite hero in the whole class because his ability is so good, but he has such a huge setback. Like Sugarman, the more he uses his quirk, the dumber he gets, which is a severe handicap in battles when you mismanage your resources, in this case his electricity. Beyond that, he wouldn't be that good in rescuing civilians from natural catastrophe. He's a prone soldier for battle and would excel at being a backup hero. Beside that, I can see very little use to his skill. I mean, he could work at a Duracell factory, but that's not really heroic. Number 11, Ashido in Acid. Her quirk lets her shoot out acid she can use to protect herself or melt stuff. Ashido is a really underestimated hero since she's often depicted as a laid-back, easygoing girl, but her skills are pretty deadly. She can make a defensive wall stronger than concrete and breach others by straight up melting them. Good for infiltration, she's got great maneuverability like Seto since she can skate on her slime, and she also has that spider sense that gives her godly reflexes. If she honed her skill, I think she'd be an incredibly potent hero. But there's a better one on this list, so it locks her up at the 11th spot. Number 10, Tokoyami in Dark Shadow. This quirk casts a shadow that has a mind of its own. Now we enter into the restriction heroes. The brighter the surrounding is, the weaker the shadow becomes. On the opposite, left in absolute darkness, the shadow becomes so big it gets out of control and enter a berserker mode. It's incredibly good and powerful, but that leaves Tokoyami in a very tiny threshold window to operate. Too bright is too weak, too dark he can control it. That makes him unreliable at this point, and unless he can grow to the point where he can control it in total darkness, the midway of this list is the best I can do for him. Number 9, Tsuyu-chan and her frog form. This quirk makes her the same as her frog. Another really cool character who lives under restrictions. Ah man, I hate to put her so high on this list. But again, as I said in my intro statement, Tsuyu is the best aquatic hero without a doubt. She dispatches anyone in that element with ease, but that makes her kinda C tier on land, which is why she ends down in the middle of the rank. Good waifu, but her battle stats are average, her intelligence doesn't particularly shine, and her quirk doesn't help out much in case of rescuing victim out of burning building, shy of tonguing them. I'm really sorry, this is the best I can do for her. But now we enter in the elite heroes, the top 8. Number 8, Agakure and Transparency. This quirk makes her invisible, another kind of comic relief character that honestly doesn't get the rep she deserves. Agakure's ability is S tier. Nobody can sneak around better than her. For recon, stealth rescue, and even fighting nearly any average villains, she has the advantage. Of Of course, where she falls short is in speed and strength, meaning if she ever comes up against an enemy that doesn't rely on sight to fight, well, she'd most likely lose her hedge. She also doesn't excel in rescuing someone from a burning building, but hey, like I said, there's a purpose for every type of hero. Stealth Recon is super important too. She's also my waifu, so that's why she's so high on this list.
なんか私全然目立ってなかったね。
Number 7. Yaoyorozu Creation. Using the fat of her body, she can create any item of her choosing. Talk about an unsung hero. First of all, she's the only hero whose intelligence is so high she's rated S class. Secondly, she's great at handling weapons, so Judo can go sit back down. Her stamina is top notch since she finished first in the fitness test, and again, she can create anything at all. Shelter for the wounded, weapons. With her smarts too, she can MacGyver your ass any day. Of course, against someone who touch you and you decay, it's not flawless, but I mean, for anything else, there's Momo. Number 6. Ina and Jin. This quirk makes him a speedster. This ranking was pretty tough to delegate for Ida. He's a very potent hero, he has his priorities straight, and being fast is generally a super useful skill both for battle and rescue purposes. Unfortunately, I can't put him any higher due to the kickback aspect of his quirk. If the exhaust of his legs are clogged up, he can't do anything. Meaning underwater is bad, in a swamp it's bad, sandstorm could clog them, jeez, even a bad snow day leaves them home. And then there's the whole overheat aspect too. When you have someone like an ice user on the team who can instantly cool them, that's good, but how frequent are those guys around? Do you see where I'm going? But hey, assuming he comes up with a hot patch 2.0, he deserved the spot number 6 on this ranking. Number 5. Bakugo Explosion. Oh shit, I'm sorry my dislike bar just took a major hit for not putting Bakugo at the top of the list, but seriously, hear me out. Bakugo is top tier in everything. His major flaw is he doesn't give a crap about anything else than fighting. And when you're a hero, half your job is prioritizing rescue over battle. Sure, there's usually a crew dedicated to rescue and one to fighting, but if you're on your own, you gotta know when to fold them, and Bakugo's not there. Again, his stats are golden, A+ in damage, fighting, and durability on all 3D planes. He's smart when it comes to battle, but as shown in the manga during the hero license arc, he just wanna fight, and strength alone doesn't make you the best hero. Sorry. Number 4. Kirishima Hardening. This quirk makes his body rock hard. Look at those abs. Anyway, I gotta say, when I first saw Kirishima, I didn't think much of him, but I've caught up to the manga and this dude is lit, fam. This skill is mostly defensive, although it can be used to dish out some pretty solid damage. For any ranged user, Kirishima would stay there and take it, but he's a tank, so that's his job. Rescuing hostages from crumbling building, he can withstand it and be a wall. He has great mindset into both battle and rescue. Overall, he's a golden hero. Number 3. Todoroki Half Cold, Half Hot. This quirk gives him fire and ice abilities. Welcome to the top 3. Just like Kaminari, Todoroki have an elemental advantage, which, if it wasn't OP enough, it does not have only one, but 2 of them. Underwater, he could blast himself to the surface and freeze it all. He can make an ice shield, warm up cold victims who got caught up in the rain, and that's without counting his battle abilities. His only drawback is his own resistance to either elements and his own stamina. If he spams it too much, he'll end up dried up. Since there's a quantifying end to his quirk, I unfortunately can't put him at the top, but under the right conditions, he's the strongest hero of all. Have you seen him in Game of Thrones? Number 2. Ochako Zero Gravity. This quirk lets Ochako control the gravity around her. I know you don't think she deserves the spot, but hear me first. Out of all the hero in the class, Ochako is the only one who doesn't have body altercation, but actually terrain control. And that shit with the perfect control is freaking triple S tier. Think about it, burning rubbles who could crush victims floats away. Crumbling building that can be cleaned up in a second. She can reach any location by jumping to them. She can distance herself from nearly any villains. She can fight them off by using surroundings. The only way she loses is if she's stuck in a white room with a grapple type of enemy, or someone like Bakugo who can reach her no matter the advantage she has. Or also someone with elemental skills like Todoroki or Kaminari. Maybe she doesn't deserve the spot after all. But since she's so versatile on everything, she just felt like she had the extra edge. She's also an awesome tick waifu, and you can't neglect that out of a hero for sure. And finally, number 1 that nobody ever expected. Oh my god, who can it be?
お手伝いするヒーローになって
And finally, at number 1, we have Midoriya and One for All. These quirks unleash incredible levels of strength. I think everyone kinda saw this one coming. I mean, he is the protagonist, and he straight up says he's the number 1 hero at the beginning of episode 1, provided we go with the full control of One for All, which was our interest at the beginning. I mean, there's literally no one who could rival with him. Even range user would have to battle hurricane level of winds just out of his fist air displacement. It's a lame outcome, but considering Deku's Heart of Gold who prioritized rescuing over engaging battle, but still can be relied on if needed, that makes him the perfect hero from Class 1A.
どうする
So there you go, this is my personal ranking list of all the heroes in Class 1A. Of course, like I said, a lot of heroes have situational uses, and I don't see Ochako beating everyone that's below her, but her usefulness is so good, there's very little we can take away from her. Anyway, if you agree with this list, please leave a like and consider subscribing. If you don't agree, feel free to leave a comment telling me how wrong I am about your own thinking process. And you can also molest that dislike button too. I mean, I won't encourage you, but I understand that Froppy and Bakugo both deserves number 1 spot. That's all the time that I had for today. Until next video, Sarani McCoy plus Ultra! No, that felt wrong. I'm sorry about this.
I've been through the hard times, I've been on the wrong side, I've been ashamed. So many memories, you know I'd like to change.